Welcome to Season 6, Episode 6 of The Sailing Show, the monthly podcast that will steer and inspire you along your sailing journey. I'm Abby Ealer. I've competed in the Volvo Ocean Race 3 times and worked shoreside with the America's Cup and Sail GP. I'm also a director of the Magenta Project, a UK charity organisation that is committed to developing pathways and generating opportunities for women in performance sailing. On this podcast, I'll be chatting to a wide range of women within the sailing community, including Olympic champions, ocean racers, change makers, and up-and-coming champions. On this edition of The Sailing Show, I'm going to be chatting to 3 colleagues of mine who have recently competed in the inaugural edition of the Ocean Race Europe, which started on May the 29th from Lorient in France and finished in Genoa in Italy on June the 19th, with stops along the way in Cascais, Portugal, and Alicante, Spain. The Europe Race is a new event designed to showcase top flight, fully crewed, competitive ocean racing, featuring crew members from all over the world racing in both the foiling IMOCA 60s and one design VO 65s. Racing both offshore from the North Atlantic coast of Europe into the Mediterranean Sea, and 2 coastal races in Cascais and Genoa, offering bonus points to the top 3 finishers. My 3 guests today are Lush, Lara Poljšak, and Annika Möslein. Annie is a former triple match racing world champion and Olympic competitor. In 2014-15, she competed in the Volvo Ocean Race with Team SCA, becoming part of the first ever female team to win a leg of the race. She went on to race with Team Brunel in the 17-18 edition of the Ocean Race and has competed in the Ocean Race Europe with Offshore Team Germany. Lara originates from Slovenia and grew up living on a sailing boat and currently lives on one. She's studying sustainability management at college. Lara describes her sailing background as a bit of a roller coaster, starting out in Optimus, progressing through to keel boats, and then in 2018 landed a role with the TP52 Quantum Racing, who went on to win the Worlds and the season. Lara currently sails the RC44s, 15 metres, Melge and Etchel, and is keen to get more into ocean racing. She competed the Ocean Race Europe with the Austrian Ocean Race Project. Annika hails from Germany and has relocated to the UK, where she's currently studying at Oxford. Annika has a wealth of inshore and offshore sailing experience and had her first taste of the VO 65 following a delivery opportunity after the 17-18 Ocean Race on board Sunghung Kai Scallywag. Annika was part of the 2018-19 Magenta mentoring program, and through that had the opportunity to compete in the Rolex Fastnet Race and Middle Sea races. Annika has also been part of the Austrian Ocean Race Project for the Europe Race. So welcome to the show, Annie, Lara and Annika. Thanks for joining me today.
Hello.
Hi, Abby.
Hi. Firstly, thanks for taking the time to join me. And I guess, Annie, I'm going to start with you because the topic for today is we're going to be talking about the Ocean Race Europe, which has just finished up in Genoa last weekend. Annie, this is like your 3rd time back to sort of the race environment of what was formerly the Volvo Ocean Race and now the Ocean Race. I mean, despite any obvious physical differences between the V65 and the IMOCA, I mean, how did you find it coming into this class? You know, anything that really sort of surprised you or anything unexpected with going into a different boat and racing in this offshore configuration?
You know, as you said, the sort of 3rd time back into the scene, and I think we're all very excited to be back after a very long year of COVID and not so much sailing. But it wasn't really like coming back into the Ocean Race because it was quite different being part of the IMOCA fleet. I mean, I suppose firstly that I don't really know the people in the IMOCA fleet. Actually, the docks were separated with the V65 and the 60 because we obviously had quite a lot of COVID restrictions going on and bubbles. And I realised that everyone over on that V65 dock, I certainly knew quite a lot of those faces, but the IMOCA faces are all new to me because most of the people that were doing the race had come from the sort of single-handed Vendée sort of French scene. And, you know, it's quite a different world. There's many different worlds in sailing. So I suppose that's one of the obvious differences, is just sort of new people into the ocean race, which is great. A couple of the girls I know, obviously Justine Metro on 11th hour, we did the race with Team SCA, and Marie Rieu, who was with Coron, I've sailed with anyway, match racing and in the Olympics in the past, and was on Dongfeng last time. But other than that, yeah, there were quite new faces. I suppose we sort of came to the event with Offshore Team Germany. I'm the only one who'd done the ocean race before. Ben on board had just completed the Vendée. So luckily we had someone who'd just been sailing in IMOCA quite a lot. And then our other two team members, Phil and Robert, really from the Olympic scene. But to be honest, none of us really quite knew how the race was going to go. And I suppose also sort of how to take it in some ways, because the IMOCA is really set up for short-handed sailing in every way. Kind of, there's not much space on board, so life on board is tricky with more than one. And also just to kind of maneuver the boat and sail the boat, it's quite hard to fit everyone in and work out what they should do, because it's just set up for this single-handed sailing. So yeah, that was really new to all of us, and I think something that every team had to try and work out.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic just to watch, and even just seeing you on board and how teams were managing with so many people in such a small space. I mean, it is one of the challenges of that class, transferring, I guess, from this short-handed sailing to fully crewed. But Lara, moving on to you, I mean, this was your first experience sailing the V65. You did the last two legs. So talk us through, I mean, did you have any expectations going into this race? And basically, how did you find it?
Yeah, so I did the last two legs of the Ocean Race Europe. And I loved it. We had a little bit of everything. We started with really strong winds from Qashqai to Gibraltar, and then up to, I guess, 30, 35 knots through Gibraltar. Pretty long upwind. And then after that, just typical Mediterranean conditions like light breeze and no waves. But I loved every part of it. Maybe even a bit more the light conditions, because that's what I'm used to, because I grew up sailing in the northern Adriatic, so it's always light breeze and no waves. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. And yeah, I loved every little bit of it.
And I think you did get a bit of everything, because I think certainly out of Qashqai, there was big breeze. Going through the Straits, there was big breeze. And then coming into Genoa, it was quite the opposite. It was the full shutdown and that sort of just trying to keep the boat moving to get across the finish line, and lots of lead changes. I mean, even though the leaderboard has the Austrian Race Project, which was the boat that yourself and Annika were on board, finished up in 5th overall. I mean, there were lead changes going on throughout the race, and the racing was so tight. So, I mean, I think you have to be happy, don't you, with that result in such a competitive fleet?
Yeah, exactly. Especially for being such a young team, because except for the skipper, everyone was under 30. And then also our boat was the only boat without the A4, which made long downwinds pretty difficult and not very enjoyable when you see the rest of the fleet just kind of run away. But yeah, I think we managed to handle everything pretty well, and I'm really happy with the end result.
Indeed. Now, Annika, I'm going to come back to you in a minute, but Annie, just mention of the A4 there, and this is a new sail that's been brought into this V65 for this upcoming edition of the race. I mean, it's a sail that I guess effectively means that you can sail downwind, which was something that we might have missed out of the inventory before. It's obviously a huge handle to drop the sail because it's a soft sail, it's not on a furler. I mean, what are your thoughts on this edition?
Yeah, well, one thought is, Abby, we could have got around the world much quicker, it turns out, if we had the sail. It definitely, I mean, it's definitely helping the boats in terms of overall performance. And I mean, the only time actually I'd raced the IMOCA against the boat 65 downwind like that was in the Fastnet a couple of years ago. And I know that we were we were gaining on them because we had a better VMG mode. So when they turned up with these A4s at this race, suddenly we're like, oh, yeah, they were quicker than us or had better VMG. But I was actually speaking to Willie Attadil, who was sailing with Mirapuri, and I was saying, oh, fantastic, now you've got this A4, it'd be great in the ocean race, wouldn't it? And he said, oh, don't know, I'm really glad we didn't have it, because imagining trying to deal with that sort of driving in the ice skates along the Southern Ocean, which no doubt now everyone will push to have the A4 up because it's so much better VMG. But as you say, it's a bit of a nightmare to handle probably in bigger breeze. And I guess it'll be people to keep it up until it blows up. So yeah, I mean, it helps the boat's performance. I don't know if it helps the crew.
Well, we shall see. I guess it all remains to be seen. But Annika, you had been on a V65 at the end of the last Volvo Ocean Race with Scallywag, and you had an experience doing a delivery on board, and then you stepped back on board to the Austrian Race Project for this first leg of the Ocean Race Europe. So talk us through how it was to be on board in the race environment and in amongst this one design fleet.
Yeah, at first we had a couple of training weeks as well. We did some deliveries before, and that almost felt like home because, as you said, it's one design. The boats are the same, so it's just awesome to be back. And then the race environment was completely different because suddenly you have 7 of these boats next to each other, and you have amazing sailors next to you, and you look on the start line and you see, wow, we're actually all here and we're racing the same boats, and it's really the best competition. And indeed it was, because I mean, at the beginning, the lack of A4, which was pretty much non-one design racing, made us, end up being far behind after 1 day, 1.5 days. But then being able to catch up and being back on the race and basically have a restart on day 4, because we're all in the same weather system and we basically have all the same polars and stuff. So we do end up, with many, many restarts in these fleets. And then this extremely close finish. I mean, we all finished within 6 minutes, and we led the fleet with a 2-second difference, I think. So it's just insane that that's not normal offshore racing. That can only happen in one design offshore racing. And I think that's the most fascinating thing you can get in sailing, or in offshore sailing for me.
I think particularly with the one design fleet is you can't take your foot off the pedal at all, because it is just so tight, and that everyone's pushing. It really is down to that umpteenth percentile of performance difference. So that's fantastic to hear. And I guess I wanted to ask both of you, Lara and Annika, what your intentions were sort of going into this race. I mean, is this for you, the ultimate goal is to do the ocean race itself, which is due to start in October of next year? I mean, was this a test of yourself to see if you want to take this on? And what are your thoughts now, Lara?
For me, for sure, the main goal is to compete in the actual ocean race next year. But I didn't think of this as a test for me. Like if I'm able to do it, or if I really want to do it, because I'm so sure that I want to do it that I didn't need a test. I guess it was more a test for the team, because we had 3 different teams for 3 different parts of the whole European tour, and I think they wanted to test different sailors to then in the end put together the team for the actual race. But then also, in the end, it was a good test because I'm not I'm not basically an offshore sailor. I'm more of an inshore sailor. But I always knew that I wanted to do the ocean race. So it was nice to get some more offshore experience. And now I'm even more sure that I want to do it.
And is that the same for you, Annika? Have you come away with an extra buzz, or?
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, I wanted to do the ocean race before, but before it was a dream and it was far away. And now suddenly it's a big goal, and it's, getting closer and closer. But as Lara said, it was a test for both. It was a test or probably even for 3 things. It was a test for us. It was a test for the boat, and especially for the crew. So the team was looking for new sailors, new young sailors under 27, under 30, to join them for this big, adventure ahead. And therefore we had this swapping around and we're looking for different people. So it was kind of a selection process as well. And the boat obviously was also never sailed under these conditions really, because it was used for a lot of chartering before, or deliveries or trainings, but never for one design racing. So it was a test: how far can we push the boat? How quick can we go downwind? And it was an excellent opportunity for all of us. And pushing the boat was probably the most fun we had, going downwind in these waves, trying to keep the average boat speed over 20, 22, 25, and so on, hitting 30 knots. That's just excellent. That's the best sailing you can get right now.
Yeah, I think that brings back some memories of surfing on those boats. It's pretty cool when they get up and get going. And Annie, I mean, on the IMOCA, did you ever get the chance to see it at sort of full throttle when the conditions allowed?
Yeah, we had this good sort of windy patch that I was sort of talking about in the first race, which a bit actually, I'd say that on Offshore Team Germany, we were pretty similar to the Austrians. We didn't have a problem with the sail, but we didn't have any foils. So it was kind of the same thing. We were lacking something that the other boats had that made them significantly faster on this sort of, on a bit before the windy bit. But we actually managed to gain quite a lot once we had the throw up and it was really windy, sending it. But I loved it, but it was quite tricky because on the Volvo 65s, those machines, they've gone around the world twice. They're going around again, and you just push them, don't you, as hard as you want, especially once you have something like the throw up and two reefs. You feel pretty safe and you just keep pushing. And in the IMOCA, it's definitely a lighter boat. You can feel that. There were some strange noises coming from around the keel. And suddenly, I was pushing it pretty hard, and I could see all the boys looking at me like, oh, I might need to back off now. So we definitely were sending it, but I think still yet to learn how far you can push the IMOCA, and maybe I just need to remember it's not a Volvo 65. It's a little bit more delicate.
It's going to be an interesting sort of integration, isn't it? Really interesting with your crew makeup, the way you had that mix of Olympic sailors, yourself has come from crewed offshore racing, and then with Benjamin, who's come from the Vendée. So, like a real mishmash. And I guess everyone just brings a slightly different mindset. Talk us through how it all gelled.
Yeah, and I think at the end, for me, it's definitely the favourite part of the event. The boats are awesome as well, but it's more than the machines. It was definitely the sort of the team and working out how to put all that together. I think Robert did a great job as a skipper of really leading in a very sort of open way. It just felt like everyone could bring everything they had to the table, and then we just kind of mixed it up and saw who had the best idea. We hadn't had very long in the boat before, that I quite like to have, lots of spreadsheets and order and kind of know what we're doing in terms of the sail crossovers and the trim setups. But we only had a couple of weeks training before the race, and we had new sails literally a few days before the race, some of them. So we had to learn as we went along. And I think for us, our main goal was just that we improved with each leg and that we learned as quickly as possible, because that was sort of the only option we had. And I think, I think actually in the end, the team worked in a really good way so that we could, mostly because everyone could just sort of bring everything they had to the table. And we were just willing to try each idea. Some of them were good and some of them were less good. But I think, as always, by the end of the race, we kind of got a lot better. Then you feel ready, don't you? Just as you finish, you feel ready to start racing.
Yeah, it is. It's true. And I guess, talking about team dynamics, mechanics. Lara, it's 12 people on board. You're all quite new to the boat. How was that managed? How did you get yourself to a point where you can confidently do a maneuver and you can peel, you can do a jib change? It must have been a tough situation just to bring that many new people onto the boat, and in a competitive environment.
To be honest, at the beginning it was a bit rough, especially I started in Qashqai, and we all know it's windy there. So it was basically a new team on the boat, strong wind, new boat, everything. And we had to do all these maneuvers. And I mean, everything went quite smoothly in the end, but for me, it was a bit stressful. And also, as we mentioned before, the Austrian Ocean Race Project, they tried to test different sailors in this European tour. So basically, I met my team one day before we started racing, and I only knew 2 guys before that from the delivery that we did together. So the whole team was new to me. I didn't know everyone, so it was a bit hard to just get straight into racing, you know, because you have to rely on your team members. And if you don't know that, it's a bit hard to do. But in the end, we managed. And I think by the end of leg 2, we were a pretty good team. And then for the last leg, everything was pretty much perfect. Like even in Alicante, we had some time to bond on shore, which helps a lot too. And I think, the last leg was pretty good in terms of team dynamics and everything going on board.
Yeah, well, I guess you have to start somewhere, and being thrown at the deep end is sometimes a good chance to learn. And I guess, as you said, it was probably a baptism of fire a bit out of Qashqai with big conditions, and then that final leg where it wasn't quite so windy. It was probably good once you'd all settled in. I mean, Annika, for you, what will you take away from that sort of first leg? I mean, and what happens now?
I mean, the big takeaway is obviously the amount of experiences and the learnings we had. As Lara mentioned, as a new team growing together, and how quickly can we grow together. We were probably lucky because we had the delivery before from The Hague to Lorient, so we had the opportunity to meet each other, to get to know the boat properly before we started racing, and probably it was easier for us at the beginning to focus really on boat speed and tactics and so on, rather than on boat handling. This is probably one of the big key learnings, that the team has to grow together very quickly. And another key learning is obviously the sailing is different to the sailing I do in the Solent. Obviously it's much more exposed, it's much wetter, it's everything is quicker. As I said, the boat speeds are quite different to what you would do during an inshore race here. The other thing is probably the passion that was on board, because that was very unique to me, or very new to me, because suddenly we have all these young people, and we have this dream, which gets us together. And just this passion on board. Everyone would do everything, would be so keen to help. And that was very new. There was not this usual professionalism, I would say, where people do their job and then go home and relax. It was always like, what can we do to make this team better? What can we do to make this boat go faster? And this attitude was definitely there, and that was so special and so keen and so passionate, that I would love to keep that, I guess, for future races or for our next projects together.
Well, that's really good to hear. Yeah. And a race like this does sort of bond not only your team, but also the buddies that you're competing against. And it's quite a unique experience. And I'm sure, Anna, you'd agree with me that it's something that you take away, the collaborations that you make and the bonds that you make with other people that will be there for years to come.
Yeah, I think it was great to see in the 65 how many young people they were. And I think at the beginning, it looked like the dock was quite separated, and later on could see everyone talking to each other. And I think for Annika and Lara, I mean, the opportunity of talking to other people. We had one drink session where we had most of the girls meet up, but those, it's just those one-off meetings that are so important. The next thing you get a phone call a couple of months later for another project, and someone remembers you. And I think that's where it all starts, isn't it? That sort of networking and the friendships really on the dock. So I think that's one of the things I love most about the ocean race. Perhaps you see it more than maybe in the Olympics or even the America's Cup, where it's very nationality divided, because the ocean race isn't. We represent different countries, but it's very mixed up on the boats. and also because you're just trying to get around the world together, so you need to support each other fundamentally. That you just see there's a lot of friendship between teams, and yeah, by the end of the ocean race, it's always quite sad to say goodbye to everyone, not just your own team.
Lara, for you, what happens next? I mean, is this an ongoing project? Is there likely to be some more training in the lead up to the real ocean race, so to speak, or have other doors opened?
Yeah, I think the plan is to start training next January, so after New Year's. But they still have to put the team to get together. So right now we don't know anything yet. We don't know what will happen. But I'm sure even just the Ocean Race Europe will open some doors for me, maybe for some more offshore sailing. But for now, for this year, the plan is to continue with the inshore sailing and then hopefully start training in January for the real thing.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. And for you, Annika, I mean, like, if you could wind the clock back in terms of knowing what you know now, going into the Ocean Race Europe, is there anything you would have done differently, or you would have prepared yourself differently, or in terms of what you can take away?
Probably not too much. Probably not too much difference. It was quick learning, and I think, probably one thing, because I was thrown in at the deep end as well at the beginning, because we changed crew positions the night before the race. So I ended up doing main, and during all the deliveries and training weeks, I was focusing on head sails. So I think that would be the one thing to look back and say, look at everything and make sure all the positions. But it went really well, and I really enjoyed the position doing main trim. But otherwise, just keep going, I guess, and learning every time.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the key things, isn't it, with offshore sailing, is having that versatility to do all the different things. And maybe that's emphasised more, Annie, on the IMOCA with your short-handed sailing. It really is even more so. You look at the 65s and you could sort of specialise in trim or on the bow or driving, or you're a navigator. But with the IMOCA setup, it's almost like you've condensed that even more so, that you need to be a bit nav savvy, you need to be a trimmer, a driver, a bit of an all-rounder, but
yeah, you're right. I think normally you're sort of only two on watch, so you've got to be a bit all-round. And certainly looking at the nav station was quite new to me. I know, on Team SCA with 12 of us, it was pretty hard to even see the computer, and even with Brunel, it was much more divided. So I'd say if I could do something again before the race, it would be to read the autopilot manual, because this was something, Lara and Annika, you're going to laugh at this, but I mean, I hadn't quite twigged how important the autopilot was, which is, for those that don't know, it's basically drives the boat for you, because in single-handed configuration, that's what you use a lot. But also the IMOCAs are not really designed to be driven. They just have a tiller. It's quite tiring. It's quite hard. Sometimes you really can't sit anywhere without being washed off whilst driving. So you have to use the autopilot. And I don't think we'd configured ours particularly well. It takes a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy. And so I spent quite a lot of time trying to kind of just drive the autopilot by pressing up and down quite a lot below, which is not the way to do it. Actually, for the last two legs of the race, as Lara said, it was much lighter. And in fact, we just didn't use the pilot in the end. But for that windy reaching, it would have been really good to know how to configure it a bit better. And that was something that I hadn't even thought about needing to learn. It sort of wasn't something I'd factored in. It's something new to me. I understand knowing the sail setups and bow and, the pit, but whole new area.
Yeah, and it is quite interesting when you say the boats are not set up for steering. I mean, they really aren't. And was it the leg where you were going through the Gibraltar Straits that you'd lost your wind instruments, which would ultimately you need to drive the pilot? And so you did end up hand steering a lot of that leg. I mean, that would have just been quite horrendous, because even the force that there's no feel in the helm whatsoever, because the rams are still connected, I'm guessing. And like you said, there's nowhere to sit. The visibility is quite confined. So, I mean, that must have been pretty full on.
Yeah, it's pretty mad, isn't it? You think, oh, that's ridiculous. You have a boat, you can't really drive. Well, I thought it was as well. And then I thought, oh, we're being a wuss. I mean, of course you drive the whole time. You know, that's what we do in the ocean race on the Volvo 65s. But yeah, being able to kind of lean all your weight on a wheel as opposed to a tiller is actually very different. And yeah, so once we had no instruments on that leg, you just thought, oh my goodness, goodbye sleep. That's it. You know, we've got to steer the whole time. And actually when it's windy and you're driving on our boat, I had to have Phil stood behind me the whole time because I kept getting washed down the deck and he'd have to push me back onto the tiller. So it's pretty much a two-man job just to drive the boat. So yeah, it was, I mean, I think in the end, actually, we learned so much more about the boat from hand steering it. Well, I mean, that's kind of obvious, but even without the feel that you would normally have because the ram's connected, we learned a lot about the trim from driving more. And I think ultimately, you know, towards the end, it actually really helped us think we were quicker driving. But it definitely meant a lack of sleep.
And Lara, I mean, what are your takeaways from this event? What have you learned? What will you be working on?
Yeah, for sure. As Annika said, the importance of team dynamics and how quickly you grow together as a team. But then for myself also, I think having a bit more confidence in myself, because the same as Annika, I was put on the main, and I've never done it before. So it was a completely new position. And in the beginning, I was a bit maybe scared to boss the guys around and to yell at the grinders and to, I don't know, communicate with the skipper at the helm and just with the whole team, because I felt they know the boat better than me. Like, who am I to tell them what to do? But then in the end, I figured out that I actually know enough to do the job. And I don't know, I think I did okay. And yeah, maybe just in the future to have more confidence to say what is on my mind straight away and not wait for somebody else to do it, or to keep thinking, is this the right thing to do? And it's better just to say it or to do it. And then if it's wrong, you can correct it. So yeah, for me personally, that was a pretty big lesson in this race.
Yeah, well, I think it can certainly be a very daunting task. I mean, especially it's a big sail, you know, it's a big main sheet winch drum. Like you said, you need people to grind. So it's just, you know, having that confidence to know that you're doing the right thing. But yeah, it certainly can be quite a daunting position because it's quite a key role. Annie, you got any top tips?
Oh my goodness, I'm not sure, but yeah, I think you're right, Lara, to just say what you're thinking. I do think that also comes a bit from who you're working with. And, you know, I'd say something I really enjoyed in our team in this race was that I felt you didn't have to kind of rethink what you're thinking. It didn't matter if you said something and it sounded a bit stupid. Just get it out and, you know, ask the question, because the number of times I've sat there and thought, I don't really know how many wraps to put on the winch. Is it sort of 4 or 5 for this tack? And then you don't ask and you get a riding turn or something happens. So, you know, anyone who's a professional, even if you're thinking, oh, they're more experienced than me, you know, if they ever say, oh, that's a ridiculous question, then they're not as professional as you think, because asking how many wraps to put on the winch or what gear to grind something is a perfectly valid thing to ask. So I think however basic the question, just make sure you ask it. And if you're working with good people, that, you know, they'll give you good guidance, I think.
Yeah, very, very good point. And like you said, there is no stupid question. You're better to ask, and at least then you've got it out in the open, and there's no room for error in asking. Annie, I just wanted to focus on the fact that you have won the Ocean Race Europe. I mean, it must have been fantastic going into that final leg, knowing that it was probably a little bit in your favour, the fact that it was light upwind, particularly with your boat not having foils. And you chose a slightly different route. And I mean, it was just, it was nail biting watching it, but a fantastic finish. So yeah, I mean, how did that all feel going into that last leg?
I still sort of find it's taken a bit to sink in that we won it somehow, because yeah, I think, when we came to the race, obviously with a much older boat and probably less time sailing the boat than a lot of other teams, we didn't really know what to expect, but we just wanted to, as I said, improve each time. And then I think after that first leg, like with the Austrians, we realized that sort of anything can happen. We've got to always remember that offshore. And, it seemed that in our team, there was this spirit to always fight back. However, it's pretty demoralizing when you watch the rest of your fleet foiling past you 10 knots quicker. But there's opportunities to fight back. So you just got to keep going. So I think by the time we started that last leg, as you said, we kind of knew, I still don't think we knew if the boat was quick or not in certain conditions, but I think we just knew as a team that we would just keep fighting through. And actually, if someone got, 50 miles ahead of us, we'd be able to deal with that and just push through that again. So that last leg was really tricky because we ended up taking a slightly different route. That was kind of the route we planned, and we were a bit surprised when no one else came there. But, we ended up going that way. And then we were just by ourselves. So it was completely different to sort of one design racing because, not only were the other boats not really the same as us, but also we were just completely alone. We didn't see anyone for most of the leg. And so then you're trying to push the boat, but not really knowing if you're doing the right thing. At one point, the fleet behind did gain a lot of miles back because they were in a different weather system. And we had that classic sort of couple of hours where it all goes a bit wrong and you worry that your boat speed's down, the numbers aren't right. You're checking the keel. Have you got weed on it? And you have that kind of slight spiral of decline. And then we managed to sort of come back together as a team, stop that and say, right, okay, we're going to lose some miles here, but what's the next right thing to do? And carry on. So yeah, it was an amazing feeling in the end, I think, just to be part of a team that just sort of kept fighting and kept finding a way to regroup even when things go a bit wrong. And so by the time we got into the final import race, which also we started losing at one point and only won by a couple of meters at the end, I'd say on that final downwind, I was actually loving it. I just kind of knew that we'd fight it out to the end. And it's a bit of a match race. So for me, it was the best kind of sailing you can have.
No, that's fantastic. And yeah, a very well-deserved finish to the race. So I mean, I guess just a final wrap up and thank you for sharing your different experiences. And so Annika, what's next on your hit list?
Yeah, I mean, obviously preparing for next year. Hopefully the training starts in January. I mean, they are still looking for a main sponsor, so it all kind of depends on that. But otherwise, yeah, get out on the water every weekend as before. The Fastnet is happening this year, which is exciting. Then there's some other big boat stuff, and yeah, just every opportunity to get back on the Solent and more importantly offshore. And otherwise, just a lot of training because obviously strength does make a huge difference on these boats. They are made for big boys, so we want to keep up and contribute just as much. So a lot of hours in the gym just like before, and I'm looking forward to that with this big goal in mind. It's so much easier and to train and stay passionate about it. No, it's a difficult point that you've raised there about these boats are big and heavy. The sails are quite heavy and the grinders are they're pretty tough. But I guess it's all about playing to your skill sets. And, I mean, Lara, you're not the biggest person in the world, but admittedly, but it's playing to those skills, as a trimmer, as a driver. And I think that's really important in a team environment is just recognizing everyone's skills and, recognizing the benefits of diversity. So was that something that you found difficult? Being a smaller person amongst that team, or just being able to use your skills where they were best utilized?
I didn't really find it that difficult. For sure, you need a lot of strength on this boat. And then at some point, you're also thrown in a position where you need to be the strong one and do the work. But I think at that point, if you don't have enough power, you just have to rely on your teammates, ask for help. And it always worked out.
Yeah, no, okay. Brings back lots of memories of hefting sails and interior stack down below. Oh my gosh, not the funnest moments. Annie, I mean, what happens for you now? What's the bigger goals?
Well, first off was to come home and spend a bit of time with my child. As I think you'll understand as well, Abby. It felt like a long month away. So that's, been really nice to have a bit of family time again. But in terms of sailing, the boat actually, Einstein is actually here where I live in Mallorca. I really hope that with the success we had and hopefully people following the team, Offshore Team Germany raised a bit of interest in Germany. I love sailing with this team. I really hope we can do more. So hopefully we'll do some sponsor sailing here, get some interest and see where we can go next. And meanwhile, I'll also be doing some inshore sailing. I think you've always just got to keep all the skills sharp. So as much sailing as possible, but I do hope to get back on the IMOCA soon. And fingers crossed that any German fans out there can help us to get some people interested in supporting the team. Yeah,
well, I think that's a really good point. And Annika, you're one of the first German female sailor to be involved in this race, I believe. So, I mean, kudos to you there. But it does feel like there's definitely been slightly lacking in Germany, the offshore stream for sure, and hopefully this will boost it with the entry of Team Germany Offshore. And fingers crossed, as you said, it raises the profile and helps to build a pathway for more people in the future. I mean, Annika, have you got any thoughts from home where it's kind of, there's lots of people have jumped on the bandwagon and seen this happening?
Offshore sailing became something, more relevant, I think, with the One Day Globe to begin with. Suddenly, it came up in the news, and that hasn't really happened before. And then obviously now with the Offshore Team Journey making such a big progress and winning this race after the oil broke many years ago, that obviously brought a message home. And I think it was very similar also to the Austrian team, because offshore sailing is not the biggest sport in Austria. And suddenly this team, competes and even wins a leg in this ocean race. So obviously the German and the Austrian sailing scene, they were very happy and very excited. And I'm sure there will be new projects and hopefully more attention. And I just hope that there will be many more, sailors from there, female sailors from there competing in these races. And I think we're definitely a step closer to that.
No, certainly. It definitely feels like there's a bit of a vibe that we've picked up from the German sailing press. So fingers crossed this is the start of more to come. So thank you all so much for sharing your time and for sharing your stories, and it's been great just to hear a bit more about how the race went, and we really look forward to tracking your progress between now and the start of the real ocean race, which is in October of next year. So thank you all and good luck. Well, that concludes this episode of The Sailing Show, where we've heard from Annie, Lara and Annika sharing their varying experiences from the Ocean Race Europe. If you've enjoyed listening to the show, please subscribe and share this episode if you know someone who would benefit from listening. Please continue to follow the Magenta Project on our website and social media. And to keep up to date on women's sport in general, not just sailing, check out Wisp Sports online and social media. Thanks for your time, and I appreciate you tuning in.